Hello, and welcome to the Solopreneur Billionaire, where we talk about and share stories about women making the transition into their next phase and how they see their world and the doors that open as a result of thinking differently. The Solopreneur Billionaire is a channel for women who have built decades building expertise, knowledge, and experience and want to turn that into knowledge capital in the age of AI. Today, we're sitting down with Leigh Christie, my very dear friend, who was a CEO and an executive director, and now is building her own business, creating organizational systems and spaces for individuals and companies during periods of transition. One of her superpowers is overseeing the details and operations for businesses and teams in high production and high transition times. I think you'll find this interesting. I'm doing market research, but actually, it's a little bit of an excuse to hang out with 20 or 30 high powered women that are like us. And it's so much fun. One of the things that's fascinating, there's so many of us that, like you and I worked together on last year, that are thinking about our next phase. And the steps to go from A to B can be lonely.
Yep.
One of the biggest things that I've realized that was blocking me was this idea that it had to be big title, the big money, because that's my definition of success. That definition of success turns into fear of failure and fear of how other people will judge me. What?
I said, who cares, right?
No,
Just,
but we do. We
yeah.
do care.
One thing you said that really resonated is we do care. Like, who cares? Very much so.
We should care, but we should think about how much we care. I spent a ton of money trying to build that to that $1 million business, but I realized the money that I spent, I could have just put in the stock market in an index fund, and I
Yeah.
would have made better return. I said, what a loser. I'm not going to do that anymore. My measures for what is success were wrong, but we're not here to talk about me. I think about the conversations that you and I had, and what are you thinking about?
The work, which started with you, was me having to put pen to paper and really figure it out and have conversations with others on this is what I'm doing. How can I help you, or who can you introduce me to? That was really beneficial. I did fight through, well, I've always been a CEO, I've always been an ED, I've always been recognized as a leader in the community. And why the hell am I not on those lists anymore? And it has forced me or encouraged me to be like, is that the most important thing to me? At the end of the day, am I still enough? If I don't make that list and I'm not invited to that event that celebrates those women, does it really affect who I am or how I love others or how I want to be seen? Putting words to it and being able, if I can grow where I really find happiness, I find that I show up as the best me. I want to be bigger than a name tag or being on a list. I want to be happy with me and show up in a way that I find the connection business wise. Through that, my marketing and my word of mouth of what I'm doing has changed in a much more authentic way. I'm really working hard to thread that needle of where I show up and to better and talk about it. It showed me that I was finding a way, it's important to me, of how I used to be seen, right, in a very public way. I'm still me. It just exists in a different format.
Do you know the chills I just got listening
You're
to
so
that?
sweet.
So much has
You.
evolved.
I like what I'm doing, right? I'm kind of defining that, and I have a privilege of doing that.
I understand. So, what do you think got you from that? I don't need to be on a name tag. I don't need to be on a list. I don't need to be embarrassed about what I say I do.
Being in the uncomfortable, conversations with you push me into the uncomfortable. Being accepted by friends and colleagues by who I am today and not being, why aren't you doing that?
Which they
Right.
probably weren't. It's the voice in your head.
And I don't think I ever thought about doing this, but I've really given myself permission to show up very differently. You're going to laugh so hard. I have even started dressing very differently. I want to show up differently. So I'm going to start dressing how I feel rather than I have to wear this and this. Yesterday, I showed up in tight jeans and these block heels, but I had a blue and white pinstriped
Mhm.
collar shirt and I had a black and white checkered jacket. My husband looked at me and he was like, "Where are you going?" I finally feel like I'm more that kooky, fun loving, authentic self where I know what I'm really good at, and that's aligning with where I'm happy. I feel less judgment. I kind of crave being a little different right now in all different ways.
It's so important to have your inside match your outside and your outside match your inside. The fact that you've even started dressing differently as your sense of yourself and what you do has evolved is so good. I had a nightmare thinking about the really ugly suits that I used to wear, and I looked like I was wearing somebody else's clothes for many, many years.
I know that my greatest hope in doing that, Betsy, started last year with me putting myself out there. When I worked with you, I had to show up, and it's going to look a heck of a lot different than I ever thought it was going to look. And that's okay.
1000%. One of the things I hear from women that are thinking about how do I become the advisor, become the consultant is I don't want to sell, I don't want to market myself. There's this real hesitation. When you and I work together, I was like, who can we find in your contact list? My theory of the world is if you don't know the people you would sell to, you probably don't have the right market yet. You're clearly moving beyond that now. What is a takeaway to somebody on how you transitioned yourself from somebody that is, I don't know how to sell, I don't know how to market, to now you're doing the thing?
I will say, just by being very open and sharing the uncomfortable with some people, I have been put in front of those that I was like, oh, I forgot you're on my contact list. So it's like
Yeah.
the woman who runs a very successful production company, and she was like, okay, Eugene just kept telling me I needed to call you. So we should talk about you coming on as a fractional CEO. And I don't know how this correlates, Betsy, but I've also been working really hard on self affirmations and knowing how hard I am on me, and where I have contacted people in my past roles and have been ghosted. Damn, that hurts. I'm spending time talking with people that I think can get me where I need to go rather than addressing people who I'm like, oh, that would be so great if she would introduce me to someone just because I know them.
Well, I love that. What I hear is you've really started getting very more niche in the sense of who you are relevant for and who is relevant to you. We spend a lot of time ping ponging around, like, or putting on different hats. Like, I could do that. I could do that. I could do that. And then if you do that, you end up not being relevant for anybody because it's too broad. When you start to think about what are the things that you are great at that you want to continue doing, and then the people who you want to work with and why you are relevant to them, that's when the biggest unlocks happen.
We have to figure out what is the person we want to show up. Being more purposeful. I even went through ChatGPT to print out affirmations to feel better about reaching out to contacts and figuring out how to do that.
Who do you love who has the best affirmations? I want to share with you how to get ChatGPT to give you better affirmations. You've already broken down what you need and what you want. Here's a way to ramp it up a little bit better. What you can also do is say, I love Mel Robbins of Brene
Oh.
Brown and whoever else. Can you frame my challenges and use the expertise and help me define specific affirmations for me in a way that they would have done.
Love that, and would have never thought about that.
Can I post this on my YouTube channel? Everything that you're saying is so beautiful.
It's so good to see your face,
Okay,
Betsy.
we're going to talk again
I
soon.
love that.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Solopreneur Billionaire. I'd like to make you an offer to send my favorite tips for moving into transition. I'm going to put the link in the description so that you can connect with me and get my tips and getting out of your head and the wishes and wants to I will and here's my way. Again, subscribe and like, and please come back.